Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to our day 3 NLP end-to-end project video. So in the last video, we have implemented that Jupyter Notebook part where we understood what models we are using, what kind of accuracies we are getting, what tokenizers we are going to use and everything. And now from today onwards, we are going to start implementing it in a proper way. We'll modularize the code and accordingly we'll be uh, proceeding ahead today. So I think we can start. So right now you can see in my screen the last notebook that I had, and yes, I haven't pushed yet in my GitHub because I was setting a few things, and I after this video I'm gonna push into the GitHub and I will pass the link of the repo in the description box. Okay, so let's start doing some setup. So let's what setup we are planning to do here. See, when we are going to start implementing any project, there are a few stages that you need to keep in mind. If I go to Google and search Google Jamboard and open a Jamboard, yes, it's loading up. I think I have to create, yeah, so you can see, right? Okay, now let me tell you the stages. What stages we generally have while building a complete data science project, or for our case specifically a NLP project. Okay, so if I draw a text box here, the first stage is always called data ingestion. This is the first stage. Okay, so data ingestion. Then the next stage that we will have, that is called your data validation. Okay, so in data ingestion, we're going to get the data, collect the data from database, from any other resource and similar things. Now data validation. So once we have the data, we'll validate the data. Like is it passing with the requirements that we had? What kind of requirements? Requirements can be like, for example, if you have a tabular data, the number of columns you have, the number of rows you have, the data types you have. So these all are the data that you need to validate before proceeding ahead, because you're getting the data from your business, right? So your business should know what data they are passing, and as well as you also should know whatever was discussed. That's what the exact thing I am getting. If that is not there, you need to inform your business team that okay, there's some mismatch is there. Okay, okay. So this is your data validation. So after that, you need to do data transformation. Transformation. So in data transformation, in general, we do scaling, normalizing the data, maybe doing some feature engineering on top of it. So these all things we do in this stage where we transform the data. It may be feature engineering, creating new features or removing new features, or completely transforming and completely different features. It's all jargon we'll do in this stage. So once our jargon is done, that means our data is ready for model building, right? So now, as you guessed it right, and the next stage would be model building. Model building. Okay, yeah, model building. After that, we have a stage called model evaluation. Evaluation. So this was to we evaluate our model by doing some accuracy checkup and everything. Okay, so once we have this all, then we will deploy it. We will deploy the our model deployment. We will deploy model deployment. So we'll be doing the model deployment, and the model deployment will be using many few open source tools for data version control. We'll use DVC for tracking our model and storing artifacts. For those such cases, we are going to use your ML flow and all. And while doing the deployment, we are going to use AWS EC2 instance and GitHub Actions for our CI/CD. So that will do for this video, or for this project specifically. On other projects, we'll implement some of the other things or some of the other ways of deployment, maybe some other GitHub Actions, not GitHub Actions, maybe some other way to do CI/CD. Okay, so we'll explore them. So this is the basic understanding you should have as of now. Okay, see, these are the stages that we will have. So now if we come back to our code, now what we need to do, we need to create few files and folders to achieve this flow, right? To achieve this flow that I just written in front of you. For this passing or obeying this complete flow, we need to, let's create some folder and files to make this pipeline proper. Okay, so for that we need to create few files and folders, and I'm gonna write the code first, then you will understand, and I'll explain also why I'm writing this many codes and what is the meaning behind writing this many codes. So first of all, I'm gonna create a file called template.py, and this code you can use for your purpose. I'm gonna turning off other notebooks or whatever I have. I think I need to will here. Okay, it's there. Okay, so yes, I hope you can see my screen properly. So what we are going to do, we are going to create some files and folders. See, there are two ways you can create files and folders. By clicking here, you can create a new file, new folder, but it quite tedious, quite manual, right? You know Python, so why don't you do it by coding? And whenever you are going to implement on your project, you just need to take this template.py file, paste it in your system, run it. You will have all of your files and folders. And for this video, I'm going to write the code in front of you, but when you want to implement, you can go ahead with. Okay, so let's do that. Now how we're going to do it? So first we need to import few things. So importing uh, libraries. We need OS library, from pathlib import path. We will need this library, and we will need, I think as of now we are good to go. Yeah, we are good to go as of now. Okay, okay. Now, so let's let's create some few things. Okay, so first what we need to do, see, now we want to build a complete package, a Python package based on our project. Why we want to build Python package? We want to build Python package because we have our codes, our files and folders, our methods, our own processes, our own transformers, our own data ingestion methods and all, right? So for all of this, we need to have our own package, own Python package that we are going to create. So for that, first we need to define the package name. So let me define the package name. Defining the package name. So let's say package 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 name equal to, let's give it a music genre, as it is a music genre project, so let's give it a music genre. Okay, yeah. So now lists of files and folders, list of files and folders, address that we want to create. So now what we need to do, we need to mention what all files and folders we want to create. So let's give it name list of files. List of files. Okay. Okay. So first would be a folder called .github. Inside the .github folder, there would be a folder called workflows, and see, initially I will not have anything in this folder, right? So I'm gonna keep a file called .git keep. Why I'm keeping .git keep? Because when you are going to push your code into your git repo, if you don't have anything inside this any folder, it won't actually push it. So just to make sure it's pushing it to my repo, I'm keeping something a .git keep. And why do we need this folder? So we need this for our GitHub actions. For our GitHub actions, we need this folder for our GitHub actions. Okay, done. Then comma, not here, maybe here, comma. Then come to new line. Then we need to create a folder called src source folder. Inside that, the folder name would be the package name that already I have taken. This is the package name. And once I have the package name, then I will have a py file called logger.py. And what it does, script, this is a script, this will be a Python script, right? Script for logging, just for logging purpose we want to keep it, because we would like to know, right, what is happening, where the code is going, what flow is happening, what data has been pushed, or what model have been trained, on what parameter is it trained. All kind of a logs we will be getting using this logger.py. So that is why we have created a logger py file where we are going to write our scripts that will be able to log things up. Okay, so after that we need to create our own exception. We are not going to use Python's inbuilt exception. Obviously we are going to take that class, exception class that is exist in Python. We are going to write our own class, own exception, so that we can get the errors understandable easily for us. We can easily understand the errors, and it's easy to debug also while getting any errors, and you will see on the go. So again, source, inside source I will have a package name, and the py file name would be exception.py, and street for custom exception, custom exception. Yes, fine. So we have this much, right? So now what we need to do, we need to create our init.py. Why did we create init.py? See, when we are going to create a package, okay, hold on, I think it's files. Yeah, so when we are going to create any package, the package exactly is a folder, right? And inside that folder we have all codes and all things we will have. So if there is no init.py inside that folder, it won't be able to recognize that is it a package or not. If you want a package, if you want your folders to a package, Python package, as a Python package you want to use in your code, you should have a init.py inside that folder, because it will check for that only. If it is there, if you specify that, okay, so src or music genre is my package, it should be able to find that init.py inside that folder. If that is there, only it will be able to convert it into a package. So this is a quite necessary. Okay, fine. So now there's a few more things we need to create. What are more things we need to create? So let me just write that. Source package name, components, init.py file for components. What does it mean by component here? Component that already I have showed you. This all data ingestion, data validation, data transformation, model building, evaluation, and deployments. All are my components. So those also codes, files, and folders we need to create. Okay. As of now, I'm only creating init.py, because when we will come to those stages, we'll be creating our scripts manually. As of now, I'm not writing codes for that. It's up to you. If you want to write a code, add that file path also here. But right now, I'm not doing that. Okay. Okay. So this is also there, right? And now we need to create another one that is called utils, utils. And what is that? This is for script for uh, initialization for file for utility functions. So we are going to write some utility functions, or you can tell it as helper function, that we are going to use while writing our flow, our data science project life cycle. So there we might need some helper function. What kind of helper functions? Let's say it's your reading any YML file or reading any text file. So we'll have our own code. We'll be writing that own code somewhere else, so that it's quite elaborated and distributed while implementing anything. Okay. So this is your init.py. So after that, we need to have another called config.py. That is your config. Inside config. All are, it is for only configuration. It's for scripts for configuration, and you will see what configuration, what does it mean by configuration. I will show you when I implement the code. Okay. Okay. So we have config also. Now we need to have a pipeline. We need to have a pipeline because we need to, once our components will be created, we need to run this component one by one, right? For running this component one by one, we need to have pipeline. There we will be writing the code so that it can run these components one by one, stage by stage. For this we need a pipeline. So scripts for uh, running the pipeline. Okay. Okay. Now we have a pipeline. Then we'll have an entity. In the entity we will have lot many let me try to write it out. Scripts for, it's a script. I shouldn't say it's a script. It's a script our stage entities. Stage entities. And I'll show you what does it mean by stage entity. See, stage means those all stages. Stage means these stages, and for each stage we need some entity. What kind of entities? Maybe your path, folder name, where your data will be stored. Okay. So that kind of entities that we need to have. So for each stages we need those entities. So we need to create an entity. So after entity, we need to create a, okay, we need to create a entity, and after entity we need to create a constants folder. Constants folder. Um, this constants. Okay. So this is for script for constant things in our code. Maybe some path that has to be hard coded. So where things can be hard coded, so that kind of a scenario we are going to use constants. So because few of the variables that we are going to use would be constant for all the stages. It doesn't matter what stage we are in, it's always be the same thing. So it's better to use a constant. Why you are going to use a constant? Because it helping you to change it later. You feel it when we implement that. Like, it's quite easy for you to identify where your constants are, as well as it's very easy to change those constants. Okay. Okay. I guess we are good. And I guess there's one function that I can create here, helper function. Maybe that is a common.py, or you can see helper.py. So because inside this only we are going to write the scripts, and inside init.py we are going to only call them. So for that we are going to use this helper.py. So you will see when I'm going to write the code anyways. So that's fine for you. Okay. Okay. So our constants folders are done. Now we are going to create few things because we need to write few of our test cases also. So for that also we need something. So for test cases we need maybe a folder called tests. Inside the test folder, we'll have init.py for unit for testing. For unit testing, you can say testing. Okay, or maybe only for testing. We need to pass our test cases. Test cases. Okay, okay. So after that, we need to write tests slash unit testing. We are going to do slash init.py. I guess it's done like that. To like this for unit tests. So for unit tests, we are going to use that. Okay. Okay. Apart from that, we need to get few of the folders, files also. So there's a file called config, and inside that configs, there's a file called config.yml. Is a YML file, YML configuration file. YML file for configuration. So this is a YML file that is only for configuration. Okay. Okay. This is a YML file for configuration. Then we need to have a file called divisive YML. As of now, I do not need to be confused. You can just think it like a YML file for data version control. And when you are going to do it today, not today, maybe in next videos, so you can see. As of now, you just create it. You'll see when we write the code for that. Okay. Okay, it's done. Then another one is params.yml. So this is a YML file for parameters. Okay, because see what model parameters we're going to use, or what maybe data splitting we're going to do. For all these kind of things, we need this all a parameter. So we have a special YML specifically for that only. Because tomorrow if you need it to change it, you do not need to go inside your code and find where you have written that parameters. It's better just go to the YML, change it and run the code. It's very easy for you to debug also, or see the performance changes. Okay, fine. So after that, we need to create another it is init underscore setup.sh. This is a bash file, file for initialization. See the environments and all those, for those all initializations, we need to create this bash file for initialization. Okay. So after that, we need to have our requirements.txt. I know it's already there, but I'm writing the code just to be completing text file for libraries for dependencies. Okay. Okay. So then we need to get a setup.py. Not, it is not a text file, a py file for building our package. Okay. This is the py file where we're going to write things, and so that it can build our Python package. Okay. And I think the folder should be getted called research, and the folder file should be there called experiment.ipynb. This is only for experiment purposes. For experiment, uh, for a ipynb file for experiments. Okay. Okay. So last, we need to create a file called main.py, where we are going to test our code for testing our pipeline. We need to run it, right? Run the code, so for testing purposes, testing our pipeline. So complete pipeline, or testing our stages as of now. Okay. So anything you can write would be suffice. Okay. So our file folders are created. Now let's create. We have defined all of them. Now let's create it. So for file path, in list of files. I'm gonna look through each and every folder. What I'm going to do, so convert the file path for path object for is a manipulation. Now what we're going to do, we're going to do file path equal to path. This path is gonna file path dot file path. Okay. So what it's gonna do, it's gonna convert that code into a Python path. See, if you are on Linux system, it will create that path as a Linux way, a Windows way, whatever you say. So this is responsible for that. See, it will make sure that it's a path. It's a path for any system, and it will automatically dynamic one based on your system, be it Linux, Mac, or Windows, whatever you are using. Okay. What we are going to do after that, we're going to extract. Maybe it should be capital. Extract the directory and the file name from the file path so we are going to get at that. How do you get that? So always that path the split. If we do, if we pass the file path, for it we will get two things, that is file directory and file name, right? So once you get it, we'll check, see if there is no uh, folder is available for this case. There's no folders, right? But for this case there are folders. So if there's no folder, it's gonna return a blank file directory and it will only return the file name. So in such cases we need to have a checkup, because we need to understand also, right, is it a directory or is it only a py file or a simple file. So for that we need to give a checkup. What checkup? First we need to create the directory. It doesn't exist. So if file directory, then os dot make directories file directory, and if it exists, don't create it. Exist okay equal to true. And if not a file path dot exists, if file path doesn't exist, or file path dot stat, I guess two time I give dot stat dot ht size. If it's a empty, we're checking if it's empty. If the size is zero, then you just open it, file path, just create that and pass. It's just going to create that path, nothing more than just going to create that part. Okay. So let me comment it also, that create no, create an empty file if it doesn't exist or is empty. Okay, fine. And if these things are there, then we'll just pass a print statement called that file name, or yes, file name already exist dot dot. It's done, right? So we have written our code for template.py. So let's run. So you can see my notebook is already my environment is already activated. You need to also activate, and I am gonna change it to command prompt, or maybe okay, we'll see. So you can see it's already activated, and let me run python template.py. We're getting some error. Line number 45. Okay, int object is not callable. Okay, sorry, it shouldn't be parenthesis, my mistake. Can I rerun the code again? You can see saying requirement text already exists, and it has created all the folders for us. All the folders that was there, all are created. Config, components, test, source, instance source. Hold on, there's some issue is there. Hold on. Have I written something wrong? Okay, sorry. I forgot to put if here. That is it is created wrong. Okay, I guess I need to remove this code. Okay, let's put it on this code again. Okay. If you are going to source, you can see there's a music genre folder. Inside this folder, we have all things are ready. Right. So I guess we are done with our first setup here in our case. So then let's try to do a few more things. What few more things? So let's try to write some code inside our setup.py. Now we're going to create a package. So for that we need to have a setup. So first again import um, so let us import our libraries. Importing libraries. The only one library we're going to use setup tools. This is the only one library that I am going to use. Then the simple code that would read our readme files. I know we do not have any readme file and that I will create also. Don't worry. Okay, let me first create a readme file. Readme.md. Right now I'm not keeping anything, but just I want to read the readme file. .md, comma r, comma encoding equal to utf-8 as if. Long description. Just simple, just normal coding, just reading that readme file, nothing special. Let's define our package version. So our package version is 0.0.1. This is our package version, and we'll give in the ports. Okay. So we have our versions. Now let's define few things. Our repo name. So the what repo name I want to give, maybe music genre NLP. This could be our repo name that later I'm gonna push. After that, author username, author user underscore name. My GitHub username is 10tanmay100. So the same I am giving. You give on your case whatever you have your username. Then you give source repo, PO, source repo. What could be the source repo? So we can give the same source repo. No problem in that part. Okay. Then author email. And I'm not passing my email ID here, but you can keep whatever email ID you have. Okay. Okay. Now let's try to use now the function for setting up, right? Like setup tools that already have imported, right? Let's copy this setup tools. It has a method called setup. Few things we need to pass here. First, the name. The name is the source repo. Then the version that already we have created. Then we need to pass author, and author I have already given my name, so I think that's what I can pass. Then author email that we are going to pass, author email, not this, author email, okay, comma. And what we are going to do, into a description, maybe a simple description, that is a simple small Python, sorry, not a Python, NLP package. You can give anything, whatever you want, you can give. So this is a description. So after description, we have a long description. The long description exactly this is what I got it. Same I am gonna pass here. Long description. Then we are going to create the URL. How the URL would be? Let's pass in F string. HTTPS / github.com / author username. Then maybe repo name. Repo name. Okay. I think this is suffice. And then we'll do the project URL. Project. Okay, I don't think we do not need project URL. We need a package directory. So what is the package directory? It would be source, because inside that only we'll have all the codes, right? All the methods, and also inside this folder we have all this. So that's what I'm mentioning the same here. And now the last packages equal to setup tools. I think I do not need this much. So packages setup to find packages where source. So it's gonna find packages where source folder is there, and when it's going to insert source folder, it is gonna check is init py file is there or not. If that is there only, then only it is gonna make it a package. So it's all the steps that we had. Now let's run this setup.py. How we can run the setup.py? We need to write let me zoom a bit. Yes, Python setup.py. Sorry. Okay, let me look. Python setup.py install. So see, it's ran successfully and it has created a setup and package for me. It's created. It's done. So we have successfully created our package also. Now let's come to our bash script. Inside a bash script only we have written our own all the environmental requirements, what Python environment we are going to use and all. And this code I'm not going to run because already I have created this environment. You can run it on your own, but just I'm going to show you the code. So I'm going to run some command, that is echo dollar date when you are running this code. So this is the only thing it is going to show. Starting the process. Okay, then we need to again have the same copy echo date. Now we're going to send a message like creating environment, Python environment 3.9. Okay, so after that we're going to run the command that we used to do for conda create dash prefix dot slash v and v the environment name and Python equal to 3.9 dash y. So we have created that. So after that again we need to write the same, that we are going to activating the environment, right? So once environment we need to activate that. So let's make it like activating Python environment 3.9. After that need to source activate activate dot vnv. We're going to activate it. Then we're going to installing few requirements, right? So installing Python. Okay, development requirements. Okay, maybe yes. So you have our development requirements here. Then what we're going to do pip install. We're going to run that installation command, right? Requirement.txt. So once we have those, we're going to print a message called ending the process. And for the sake of proper like completion, I am going to remove this environment that I have already created, and I'll show you how you can use this file to create the environment. How can you use this file to create the environment? So let's wait, let it delete permanently. So it's gonna delete this folder. Then we can start. Let's wait for some time. Not permitted. Okay. I think somewhere I have selected this. Acha. Let's change this kernel. Something else. Oh, I guess yeah, it's removed now. Okay, yes, it's removed now. Okay, so now let's do one. Let's open our git bash. Or git bash. Because without git bash, I think we cannot run this code. So let's write bash init setup switch and press enter. See, it's now creating the environment. You can see it's creating it. See, it's now on the process. It will do everything automatically. You just need to run that bash file. So it's already activated automatically and it's installing all the requirements that I passed there in my requirement.txt. It's all are now automatically getting installed. So give me some time. Might take a bit time to get it done. Yeah, it's done. So we have done all our requirements installations. I think there's some error or something is coming. Let's create a fresh prompt. And let me activate the environment again. Conda activate VNV. Okay. To say let's clean the pitch. Okay, so we are done with this step. Now what we are going to do, we have to write some code for our logger, because before starting the car we need to have that logger, right? What logger codes we are going to know, what logging we want to do, how we want that log to be stored, and where we want it to be stored. Okay, so let's start by again importing libraries. Importing libraries. Okay, so we need to have a logging library. Then we need to have a date time library, because on what time it happened we need that. So after that we need to have OS, because we need to store it somewhere. Then we need to have pandas, or maybe not. Let's see, still I'm importing it. Then we need to have yeah, I guess we're done. Yeah, fine. Now first let's define the log directory. Defining the logging folder name, because we need to store it somewhere now. We need to have a folder name. So what would be the folder name? Let's give a log dir. The folder name called maybe music, genre, logs could be one folder name. then getting the current timestamp, because using that we are going to create that directory and path. So current timestamp equals to datetime dot now dot strip time. Let's give it like %y. It's a format that we are passing here. That is your year, month, day, and hour, minute, second. Okay, I guess it's okay. And it has to be a string, so let's keep it inside f string like this. Okay, chalo. We are done with this step also. So getting the log file name. Now the log file name, we need to log file name. We need to have a log file name now. So for that, let's again create log file name. It could be f string. Log can be a starting of the number. Then we're going to give a current timestamp. This could be that and dot log. Yes. So this would be the log file name. And now creating directories for log files. We need to get a directory, right? So creating the for log files. So we have a ways that make directories for creating our log directory and exist okay equals to true. Okay, so we have our log directory ready. Now we need to define the complete see, we have the file name, we have the directory. Now we need to define the complete directory, like the directory inside that the file name. So we need to have this complete pattern also. So let's get that pattern also here. Defining the complete log with log files path. Okay, log file path equal to log directory then log file name. This is our log file path. So once you have the log file path, you need to now do the setting the loggers, setting the logging. So how do we set it? We have a logging that we have imported. Instead that we need to have a method called basic config. There we need to pass the file name first. The file name is log file name, right? Not name, path, because it has to pass through this path, right? Inside the path will have the name. So the path would be here. After that the file mode, it would be writing mode. So after that the format, how the format would be. So format, the same format that always I'll have to follow. That is your %ASC time. You see when it will come, you will see how it looks like. So we have a like this. Then we will have a percentage, then name s, then we have a dash, then we have percentage, label name dash s, and messages. Yes, and we need to define the label also. Label would be the logging.info. Okay, okay, so let's come here. Yeah, so I guess our logger py file is also created, right? Okay, now a logger file is also created. Now let's do one thing. Let's create a exception.py. Let's write code for that also. So we'll have, as I told you, we'll have our own exception, custom exception. So for that also we need to write some codes. So let's do that. Importing libraries. We need to have only two libraries, OS and system. Okay, let's define the class. Define our class for custom exception. Exception class music and genre exception. We're going to take the exception class that is already exist in Python. We're going to take that and let's define our first initializer init. So inside that, okay, let me write it again. Init. Okay. So we need to have a self, right? Always we need to have a self. We need to have an error message. We need to have an error message. The error message should be that exception, right? We need to have an error message, and that error message will be given by this exception only. So it would be exception type. That's why I've given like this colon and exception. Then the error detail. The details about the error I will be getting. Error details, and it will be a type of system because these details will get for the system. So that is why it would be a type of system, S by S. So we are going to inherit all the init that we have, right, from our error message. That means the exception only. We are getting all the initializers that we had or exception, whatever Python have written, right? So that we are all taking using super command. So after that, we are going to create a error message or underscore message. So what we are going to do, so this is the class, right? This is the class for exception which inherits the property of exception. So that means, I think I forgot to give a in here. Yeah. So for this, so we'll get as we have already took that initializers or init files, init methods. So we can call that. There's a 1 minute method called dot get detailed error message. Error message that we are going to create FSG, and that error message will took few things. First let me write that error message voila method, then you can get it what parameters it should take. So we will be getting a static method, so it's a static method, and we have created a method called get detailed error message. So what it needs, it would need the error message, the error message that would be exception type, and it would need that error details, that is a system type, and it's gonna okay. So this all two things it will take it, right? So same we can pass like here also, error message equal to error message. Let me just do what wrap, yes, and error details equal to error details. Okay, so we will be getting this from all these initializers, so it's fine. So once we get this, what we need to do, so first we need to take few things. Once we get that error detail, right, once we get the error detail, we are going to write some methods. Error details are okay, exe underscore info. So what is going to give, it's going to give us three things, okay, and out of these three things we need to have only that information, that's the detailed information we need that. So for that we are going to take the last one, so we can define as underscore exe execution table. It's a table that we are going to get, you can think like that way. First two we do not require, so I'm kept as a underscore, and this is what we require. And what do we get from it? First of all, you need to know the line number. on what line that issue happened. So this will return as the line number. exectb dot tb line number. So this is gonna give us the line number, and then the file name. On what file name we are getting the error. So you can get it through exectb dot tb frame dot dot f underscore, there's something called, yeah, f underscore code, and then the co underscore file name. Yes, yeah. So from it you can get that file name also by going to this process. And now let's define the error message. Now let's create the proper beautiful error message. So what error will come, like error occurred, you will get this kind of error occurred, CCERREDS, error occurred in script. Now what script it occurred? The file name and file name at line number right, and error message is the error message, right? And we are going to return this, return URL error message, sorry, audit URL error message that we need to return. So this is what we will get while returning the error message. And now let's add our last class, that is your str method, that's gonna show these stuffs. So self return self error message. There's a REPER function also I'm creating, REPER underscore self. So I'm gonna create this function also. It's gonna return, what it is going to return, music genre exception name dot str. So it is going to return the exception name in a string format. Okay, so I guess we are done with our own exception codes also. So I think it's a quite good work that we are doing till now. And now we need to do few more things, few more file and folder creations that we need to do. Not file and folder creations, maybe few of the values that we need to fill in. So what values we need to fill in? Let me tell you. So now we have all these things, right? So now we need to start writing about our codes and everything, right? Now for stages specifically. Now for our first stage is, already you know, first stage is data ingestion. So now whatever we are going to do, that would be for only for data ingestion stage. What is the configuration we need to do, parameters, values and everything we are only going to do for data ingestion stage, whatever we are going to create from now onwards. So let's come back to our code, and now let's go inside this folder configs, and inside this folder we have a file called config.yml, and here we need to mention our stage configurations. What configurations? The path, the path, the directory name that we want. Okay, so those we need to mention here. So we can give it a name like data ingestion config, because it's a data for data ingestion stage only. Data ingestion config. Okay, now we need to pass raw data directory. So the name would be raw data, then ingested directory, ingested data. So this will be the configuration, right? YAML raw data directory and ingested directory. Okay. Okay. I think we are done. And I think one thing we need to pass also. We need to pass the pipeline configuration also. Training pipeline config. Because when I'm going to run that pipeline, right? On that scenario also, we need to pass few things. So we need to pass the pipeline name because I'm working on it now, so I want it to be written now only, else I'll forget. So pipeline name will be music genre because that pipeline we're going to run. For that we'll need to create that pipeline name, and after that we need to create the artifact directory where it is going to create those all artifacts. What is auto artifacts actually? Artifacts actually the output of each stage once we get the data. So it's output of data ingestion, right? So this is artifact. So this artifact will be storing this. There will be a folder called artifacts. Inside that folder we are gonna store all these steps. So that is why we need the artifacts. So I think our configuration is also creation is also done. So now what we need to do? We need to create our entities now, right? So if we go inside our entity, that is it's a source, there's a called entity, there's a we need to create a file called config underscore entity py. So here what we are going to do here, so we are going to pass, see in that config yml we have already passed this steps, right? Data ingestion config, the pipeline name and everything. Now what we need to do, same we need to pass inside our config entity also. Okay, let's now write some code. Importing libraries, we need only one library from collections. Import name tuple. I'm gonna use name tuple. So we are going to get for data ingestion config, right? So data ingestion config. So we are going to create that data ingestion config. We need to pass the name tuple. So name tuple, the tuple name would be the data ingestion config, same name. And what would be that name tuple that we want? We can call it as a raw data directory. So raw data directory, because we need that path only, right? So for that we need to have a name tuple, and same we need to have for training pipeline also. Training pipeline config, maybe config. For training pipeline config we need to have only one thing, that is artifact directory. We need to have a artifact directory, right? Because there only we are going to store things, right? So for that we are going to use it. Okay, so I think we are done with our config entity preparation also. Now we need to prepare our another entity, that is called artifact entity, because what how a artifact looks like, that also we need to pass, right? So again same way we are going to import same thing, same that we did for config entity, same we are going to do for artifact entity. Importing libraries, data ingestion config, or not config, sorry, it would be artifact actually. Artifact, yes. artifact equal to name tuple, I guess. Oh, I forgot to import it and I was writing code from set collections. Now .dict import name tuple. Okay, called name tuple, and so the name tuple we are going to pass few things. First is your same data ingestion artifact, and then few more things, that is raw data file path, we need that, and we need to have a message. Okay, message that okay, things are okay, so that kind of a message we can take it. So this is our artifact is also being created now. So now what we need to do, we need to go to our constants folder. Few constants we need to define. Okay, so what are the constants we need to define? So constants are, let me tell you, first let me import the library. First importing libraries. First of all, it would be import OS, and second one would be from date time, import date time, and we need to write a method called define get current timestamp, current time. Let's return the time also, have string format, date time dot now, then dot strip time. Let's keep it this only. I think I can do it like this, right? Yes, and also need to pass yes. So I think we are getting the current timestamp. Now let's define few constants. First of all, the root directory. Root directory will get from os dot get current working directory, get cwd. Yes. Then current timestamp we'll get it from this method that already I've created, get current time. After that, we need to define our config file path equal to, we just need to pass this path, copy path, this path just we need to pass here. Okay, we have a config.yml. Then we need to pass our training pipeline config key. What was our training pipeline config key? If we come back here, this is our training pipeline config key. So this is exactly also need to pass our inside this training pipeline config key. After that, we need to pass training pipeline artifact dir key. That's your artifacts directory. So that we are passing already. If you see, it is, I guess I have mentioned inside. Yeah, artifact, you can see it, right? So this is our, for this is our artifact directory key. Okay, so we are mentioning now the training pipeline name key, training pipeline name key also you need to have, that is your pipeline name. Okay, so this is the key, right? So we all got it. Sorry, I missed it on it. Yes, got the key. This is all for your, just for the pipeline. Now let's write some constant for data ingestion stage also that we are going to do also. So let me write like it's overall constants, overall constant requirements. pipeline constant requirements. And after that we need to have a data ingestion constant requirements. Okay. So for that we need to do what we need to do, data ingestion underscore config key. First of all, we need to pass that config is data ingestion config, right? See, you can see it here only. This is the key, right? This is the key we are going to take. So let me turn off others. Those are not required, so let's not keep them. Yeah. Okay. So we need to have this first. Then we need to have artifact directory, right? Data ingestion. Same for this training. Data ingestion artifact directory. So what is the data ingestion artifact directory? This is our data ingestion, right? So if we come back here, we'll come back here. Yeah. So this is our data ingestion artifact directory. So what would be our data ingestion artifact directory name, right? The name would be data ingestion. The folder name we are talking about, where we are going to store the artifacts for data ingestion. The name would be data ingestion, right? After that, we need to find data ingestion underscore raw underscore data underscore dir underscore key. So we need to have a key. What are the key that we have? You can see, right? That is a raw data directory. Just copy it and paste it here. Raw directory. Now another one would be data ingestion ingested dir name key. So we need to have also the name key. Name would be your ingested dir. Okay. I think we are good to go with this till this point. Okay. So these are all things are we have created now. So what we need to do, I think we are done almost the main basic setup stages. And now what we need to do, we need to write some code for our configurations. Okay. So let's go back to our config. Here we need to get a py file called configuration configuration.py. Now here we are going to write all the code that will give our data ingestion config, because we need now see we all created the supportive functions, methods and everything. And now what we need to do, we need to create a configuration code that would actually return the config. Okay, that is going to return our config. So how do we do that? So for that we need to import few things. So importing our requirements required models, you can say. Yes. So what are we going to do, we are going to from source music genre, we are going to call, see, inside this entity, right? If you want to call these steps, right, you need to call it, right? So what, to make it easier, inside this init.py I am gonna call these steps beforehand. It would be easier for you to call it directly from it then. Okay, if I call now like from source dot music genre, from source music genre from dot entity, right? Dot entity dot config entity dot music. See, the flow from source, from music genre, from entity, from config entity, import star. Star means I'm inputting all. Okay, whatever we have. Now when we are going to call inside this one, we just need to pass few things. From source dot music genre dot entity import star. So it's gonna, okay, not star, let's write what we want to import. Data ingestion config, and we want to import training pipeline config. So it's quite easy, right? If I hover over it, you can see it's saying not accessed as of now, but it should not be. Yes, come here. Yes. Okay, dot, let's see if that's not doing that. Okay, so it should work actually, so no need to worry about it. It's maybe somewhere it's showing not accessed, but yeah, when you run the code, you can see it's working. Okay, apart from that, we need to have a logger that we have created, right? Our own logger. So let's call that also, that from music genre, music from source, sorry, it's dot music genre dot logger import logging, that we have already created our own logger. Now we need to call exception also, right? So from source dot music genre dot exception import music genre exception. Okay, now after that we need to call our constants also. So from source dot constant, not constant, from music genre dot constants import all the constants whatever we had. And also, okay, as of now let's, till then it's fine. And we need few things, that is our OS and system, so let's mention that also. Yes, so we have our OS and system. Now let's define the class, configuration class. Configuration. Okay, okay, I think I don't need this. Yes, so first let me define my initializers. We need to have a config file path. Okay, that would be str, and the config file path already we have. Config file path means I'm talking about this YML file. Okay, so this already we had in our constant folder, right? If we go to your constant folder, this is the config path already we had, and we already called it in our code. See, from constant simple start, so we have called all these values already, so I can pass it like already config file path, as well as we're gonna need the current timestamp. Let me just first toggle the word trap. Okay, is again a string, and again we have already defined that content in our constant. If you see current timestamp, that will also we have defined. Okay, fine. Now let's write some try. We'll add something in try, and if error comes up, as e, we gonna raise our own exception. And we do not need this long text. This auto suggestion is really bad sometimes. So e comma says, these two requirements we just need to pass. It will return a proper exception for us. Sorry, from me I need to pass. Yes. So this much we have done as of now. Okay. Okay. So now let's try write something inside this try block. So we need to define our variables here. That's your, you can say it's a class variable that we want to define here. So that is self.config underscore info equal to, we need to get the info, right, from this YML file. We need to get this. So how do we get it? How can we access it? We need to read this YML file, and for reading the YML file we have to write a helper function. And where we are going to write the helper function, we are going to write the helper function inside this utils helper.py. So let's write that helper function. So we need to have a helper function called, first of all, this import YML. We need to import it. And did I install it in my requirement txt? Okay, it's not there. Let me py_yml. Okay, this is a library that is responsible for reading YML files. So I need to install this YML file, and let me run that pip install command again to make sure it's installed properly in my. So I guess it installed it correctly. Now let's write that code for us. Helper.py. Let's again, few things also need to call. We need to call the exception also, because error might come here also. So from music genre import, um, from music genre dot exception, actually import music genre exception. Yes, so we have already these things mentioned. Then we need to import our OS and system. Okay, now let's define read YML. We are going to pass the file path, and the format would be str, and then we will try something, and after that if error comes up, accept exception as as raise music genre exception, that is e comma sys from e. Okay, fine. Now what we are going to write, nothing special. We just open that YML file path. We just open that, and it's a binary, so it is a binary as YAML file. Once we get the YAML file, we're gonna return yml.safe_load YAML file. As simple as that. So I think our helper code is also ready. So let's remove it as of now. Let's only come back to this py file. So as we have already mentioned, right? So we have to call this also. Inside init.py we need to call this method also. So let's call it from source dot utils, not utils, so the music genre dot utils dot helper import star. Okay, so same, now we are going to call from here from source dot music genre dot utils imp star. Now we can easily access that read_yml function. So let's try read_yml. See, it came, right? So we just need to pass the config file, but you can easily read that YML file. Okay, now after reading the YML file, I think it's, as of now it's okay. Now let's create um sorry, okay, now let's create our data ingestion config, right? So get data ingestion config self, right? And we're going to get a returned output, that is your data ingestion config. This method, or this method, is responsible to return us this data ingestion config that is already we have mentioned in our entity. This is the thing we are going to get as a return. So let's see how how we are getting it. Okay, okay, so let's write some code for that. Again, same try, we'll do some try. If that is not okay, that is not working, accept exception as raise music genre exception. from E. Okay. So let's write something. What's something? So first let's try to get that data ingestion config key. Let's try to get this. If we go here, let's try to get this first, because these are all things we require, right? So for that, first we need to get this thing, and we know already inside constant we have stored those values. If you see this is the thing, data ingestion config key, and the from YML we can call it. So first job is only that. Let's get self config info. We need to get data ingestion config key. So we need to get the data ingestion config key. And now the data ingestion info. Okay. So this is our data ingestion info. After that, we need to have an artifact directory. That is also there. Artifact directory. If we call ourselves the training, okay, hold on. We need to call our artifact directory also. But the artifact directory we have stored inside training.pipeline.config, right? So now for that also, we need to call in our case, right? So for calling that, that means we need to call again our training pipeline config also, because once we call this training pipeline config, then only we can get these properties that we can use in our data ingestion config. Correct? So for that, we need to have another method here for specifically for data training config. So if define training pipeline config self, and it is going to return this training pipeline config. Again, we'll do some try. If that is not working, then accept exception as E. We're gonna raise from E. Okay. Now gonna do training pipeline config. So do it like training pipeline config, training pipeline config self.config underscore info. We need to now again we need to need this. We need this. So for that we need to go our constant. We have defined this value training pipeline config key, right? So the same we need to pass here. So we are going to get the config info. After that we need to get the artifact directory. That is what we are about to write in our data ingestion config. So artifact directory equal to os.path.join os.path.join root directory. So first of all, root directory. Then from training pipeline config, we need to call training pipeline problem. We need to call. If we come back here, this one training pipeline name key is the pipeline name that we need to call, right? So let's call this training pipeline name key, and after that we need to pass our training pipeline directory key also. So this is our artifact directory key. It completely defines the path actually for us. Okay, so we have that path ready handy, right? And now let's grade that training also. Training pipeline config equal to training pipeline config. What it does, artifact directory as input will take. Just gonna take this one. Okay. So it is going to take the artifact directory. Then we can log it also, right? We need to log in each and every step, right? So training pipeline config, that is your training pipeline config. Sorry, okay, not sure. Like that. Yes, okay. So you logged that, and we are going to return this config, training pipeline config. Okay. So we have returned this training pipeline config, and now let's come back to our data ingestion config. And here we are creating the artifact directory, but our data, our ingested data will have to store. So that's your artifact dir self dot training pipeline config dot artifact dot artifact. Okay, actually I forgot to call it here also, or else I not, that's why I'm not getting the suggestion. So self dot training pipeline config equal to self dot get training pipeline uh get training pipeline config, uh get that training pipeline. Hold on, I think I got the separate name. Okay, actually I forgot to use the name get actually. Okay, training pipeline config, um pass it like this, get our training pipeline config, and I think as of now we are okay with this. So that's why it was not coming now. Artifact.tr is coming now. We're getting the artifact directory. Now let's define the data ingestion artifact. Data ingestion artifact directory equal to os.path.join artifact directory, comma, we need to have data ingestion artifact directory, and we need to store based on the timestamp specifically, because whenever we are going to run the pipeline, and each and every time it's gonna fetch the data from the source. So we need to have a timestamp also when we are fetching data. So for that we need to have a timestamp. So let's define that timestamp also here. Self dot timestamp equal to current timestamp. Okay. So let's define that also. Self dot timestamp. Yes. Okay. We define that. Now let's define the raw data directory also. os dot path dot join again, and then we need to do data ingestion artifact directory. Then we need to call, right? So for that we need to, what we need to do, first of all we need to have a data ingestion session is quite, hold on, it's not issue for me. Okay, yeah. So if we need to have a raw data directory, so for that we need to have a data ingestion info, right? Yes, this data ingestion info, we need the data ingestion info. So from it we need to get data ingestion data ingestion if we go back here, we need this raw data directory key, we need this raw data dir So we need to have this raw data directory key. Okay, and we need to have a same for ingested directory. So let's write like ingested directory, same code. Okay, just you need to pass change few of the things. So we need to have data ingestion directory name key. So this is the ingested directory where we need to have our raw data directory as well as ingested directory. Okay, so and anyways I don't think this ingested data required because it's not at all useful in our case. So we can remove this also. Let's not use ingested directory. Without that also we can get it, because in our code also we only kept raw data directory, so it's okay. Okay, so we are done, right? So now let's get the data ingestion config equal to data ingestion config. And what we need to do, we need to pass the already we have called it, right? The data ingestion config, we have a name tuple raw data directory, and that is a only as a output we are returning is a raw data directory. This is the only output we required, and we have logged it also, and we are returning this config also, and this is the exception that we have. So our configuration is also been done. Now let's come back to our components. So inside components, um, let's create a py file called data ingestion.py. Here we're going to write the code that will fetch that configuration for us for data ingestion config. Okay, so again let's do some imports, importing things, importing libraries or models. Again from source music genre dot entity, need to import data ingestion config. We need to import from source dot music genre dot exception, import music genre exception from source dot music genre dot constants dot constants import star. Okay, and then from source dot music genre dot logger import logging. We need to use numpy also, might be. We need to import gdown. Why gdown? Gdown is a Python library that is responsible for downloading files from Google Drive, and I kept my CSV in Google Drive. As of now our source is Google Drive in our case. Okay, so that's why I've used gdown. Apart from that, I think I forgot to call this utils also dot utils import star, so we are calling that also here. Apart from that, we need to have our artifacts also, because artifacts are going to be our output, right? That's what I've already discussed. So in our case also it would be the same, that each is an artifact would be our output. So let's call that also. I think for that I need to call it here directly. I think I call it also from source dot music genre dot entity, not entity, it would be now artifact entity import start. Yes. Okay, now let's come here. Let's call it from source. I guess if I call it only from entity also it can be called, if I'm not wrong, data ingestion artifact. Yes, you can see it's also called, right? So easily we can call it like this. So I think we need gdown, and we need pandas. So pandas as pd, yeah. So our code is ready, I guess. Yes. So all the imports I have done right now. Now let's write that class for data ingestion components. Data ingestion. Okay. So let me define that initializer. We need to take our data ingestion config, and in the data ingestion config we need to call this data ingestion config, and we will again try something. If that try won't work, then we have our own exception that will be raised. Exception, right? So it's music genre. It's really bad suggestion. CS. Okay. So this would be our code. So let's write something. What we are going to write? First, we are going to log things. Start logging info. So let's do one thing. Let's have a method called like this. Actually, just to be properly identifiable, so that's why I'm giving it like this. Multiplied by 20. Then I'll write, I guess, it's a string, right? So it should be fine if I pass it like this. Hold on. I think I can keep it like this. So like this, I can keep this as yes. Remove this. Keep this. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So you can get the data ingestion log started. Okay. Dot, and then keep the same, and let's do it like this. Okay. It looks good, right? Now let's do one thing. Let's call this self dot data ingestion config equal to the ingestion config. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think 2 times I called by mistake. Yes. Now we got our data ingestion config. Now let's create the directories that already we had got returned from our configuration code. So that we are going to do from self dot data ingestion config. We are going to get the directory called raw data directory, and if right the raw data directory, and it could exist OK equal to true. Okay. Yes. So we are going to create the directory, and let's define the output path that we got once that is created, so we can reference this later. So self dot output path equal to os dot path dot join. First of all, that configure our directory wala path, and then the CSV name that we are going to download. Okay, the download, like downloaded CSV name, whatever the name is, but we just need that path, right? Then the name of the CSV only. So that's what we got. Okay. Okay. Now let's write a method, a private method in Python that can download the CSV from my Google Drive. So let me define a private method called underscore underscore get data from G drive. Sorry, G drive. Yes, G drive. Yes. Okay. So let's write something, and we'll write something. If it is working, it's okay, or else throw our custom exception. E-commerce is from me. Yes. So I think we got this, and let me toggle the wardrobe also. It looks good to me. Okay. It looks good to me. So okay. So how can we download? So if I tell you how to download, first let me come back to my GitHub. Sorry, this is a link I'm gonna create now. Share, and now I'm gonna copy this link. Okay, anyone with the link, so anyone can access this link. Anyone can easily download it. So I come back here. I go to my constants. folder again, and let's like data link or a drive link. Let me create a separate, let me paste it here. This is the drive link that I'm gonna use it, right? Copy it, come back to my that code. Okay, let me write the code. So how we can do that? We need to call g down. Already have called it, I hope so. G down dot download. There is a method called download. We need to pass few things. First of all, the drive link, self dot output path where it's gonna show store the output, and quad equals to false. It will show quad equals to false. It will show, okay, show that installations, okay. And we are going to store it under logging also. Again logger, okay, fine. So now this method we need to call somewhere, right? So how do we call it? We just call it like, not this, maybe initiate data ingestion. This the method will initiate the data ingestion stage. Data ingestion. Try again. We try. Is working, or we are not gonna use it. Expression as e. Okay. Yes. So now try. So now we are going to call our hybrid method. Sorry. Underscore get data from G drive. Yes. So we're going to call this, and after that we're going to return data ingestion artifact, okay, where we'll pass the raw, sorry, hold on, I guess artifact, yes, I think, okay, raw data file path we need to pass. So where we are going to store that, we're going to store inside output path, so that we need to pass. Apart from that, we need to pass a message called message data ingestion completed successfully, the message we are passing, okay. Okay, so and let's mention one last deletion method, magic method, that will delete all steps once things are done. Yes, let's use this method, logging dot info log completed, yeah, just for sake of completion, delete it. Okay, okay, so our company creation is also done. Now the last stage, we need to create our pipeline. Let's turn all of them off, and now let's inside pipeline, let's create a folder called run underscore pipeline.py. Okay, so we are going to write some code that will now run the pipeline. Pipeline means as of now we have only one thing, that is our code, data ingestion pipeline. So again, let's import few things. Importing modules. Okay, so again from source dot music genre, hold on, I think I forgot to take into one thing. Inside that I'll call that from source, inside component also I'll call it the same way, music genre dot components dot data ingestion, import data ingestion. Okay, okay, now come back here from source music genre dot config dot configuration, import configuration. What was the method name I gave? I forgot. Config के अंदर that is your configuration class, so I'll call this only. Okay, okay, configuration. Then need to call from source dot music genre ICGN genre dot entity import star or data ingestion config comma training pipeline config. Okay, config, and after that we need to call a logger also from source dot music genre dot logger import logging, then from source dot music genre dot components dot data ingestion component that already have called there, and as well as we need to call the artifact entity. So from, I guess I can call the artifact directly here, data ingestion artifact. Okay, so let's now artifact would be fine. Okay, okay, we have it. So we have, I think mostly things are ready. I think okay, I forgot to call this exception also. Music genre dot exception import music genre exception. Okay, need to call the constants also from source dot music genre dot constants import star, and also from source dot music genre dot utils import star. Okay, okay, and we need to call OS and sys if they are not useful. Okay, okay, so let's call simple class called pipeline. It's like simple code I'm gonna write, guys. Pipeline, let's call that init, and this init will take only one thing, that is the config, because this configuration have everything, right? So we need this only. So after that we need to just set it up, that's called config equals to config. Yes, just we need to call it, nothing special, we just need to call it. Okay, so we have stored it that. Now let's start the data ingestion. Start a create a method, start data ingestion. So self try, let's try something again, and exception accept exception as e raise music genre exception e comma sys from a. Okay, okay, so we need to write our data ingestion, that is our data underscore ingestion equal to data ingestion. So it will take only one input, data ingestion config. We need to pass that config, that is self.config. What data ingestion config need to call? The data ingestion get data ingestion config that we have called, right? Uh, okay, if we go back here, get data ingestion config. Why it is not calling it? From configurations, config, configuration, import configuration. That class has a method config, and this config should have, okay, why it is not come, because this see get data ingestion config it. Okay, let me just call it from directly from here. Get data ingestion config. Sometimes it don't give you the suggestion. Okay, so 2-g. So we are getting get data ingestion config. So what we had? So we had a get data ingestion config, self.config get data ingestion config. I need to call this because it's a method, right? And now we need to just return data ingestion dot initiate data ingestion. That method that we wrote, right, inside components. If I go back to components, this is the same code I wrote, right? Initiate data ingestion. It's the same I wrote, initiate data ingestion. It's gonna download everything. Okay, and then At the end we have a code last method, that's run pipeline, that will run the complete pipeline. Okay, so it will take nothing, simple, we'll try pass except exception as e, raise music genre. Okay, let's try write something there. Nothing to write, like just data ingestion process equal to self dot, we are just going to call this method start data ingestion. Okay, so and if it's successful, let's return, just return completed, would be fine for. Okay, so I guess we are done. Let's run the pipeline. So how we can run the pipeline? Come back to this code main.py. Let's write something that will call this code, right? Let's call it like from source dot music genre dot pipeline run pipeline line. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's go inside this also. Pipeline. Let's do like from source dot music genre dot pipeline dot run pipeline import star. So it's easier for us to call, right? Directly we can call it import pipeline. Yes, right. As well as we need to have the configuration. So source dot music genre dot config dot configuration import configuration. And let's define a function that will run this code. That's your pipeline equal to pipeline config equal to, I think if we pass only configuration it will work. Okay, okay, now let's just print, because we will get the output as a completed message. Pipeline dot run pipeline. Okay, and now let's do one thing. If name name underscore equal to main, main main, then do one thing. Okay, okay, so I think let's comment this part also. This. Okay, so let's now run this code. Python main.py, and the code is running, and we got a error. We got a error at line number 7, constant.py. Line number 7. Line number 7, what's the error? Okay. Acha, so with this. Okay. Okay, let's retry that now. I guess, yes. Okay, so again we're getting error. Okay. Again we're getting path error. Let's come back here. Config constant convert. Yes, that's just change this path actually. Okay, okay, so let's run this code now again. Okay, so we are getting error occurred at line number 13. 13 error message error occurred in script configuration.py at line number 36. Okay, let's come back our configuration code. 36. Okay, so we are getting some issue with the name, I guess. What is the error? Error message, artifacts directory. Have I given the wrong name or something? Key error artifacts directory. Okay, it's getting key error artifacts directory. 36. So training open config. Okay, it's pipeline name, right? Training pipeline copy doesn't have it, is it? What is saying? Okay, it's there, but what is saying it's not there. Uh, Let me check why it's coming. Oh, training pipeline config. Get config key, so it should have that name, right? Okay, let me just print and let me see why it is coming. I'm not sure. Artifacts directory is there. Artifact directory. Okay, hold on. Line number 36, I'm getting error or what? Chandra. Line number 36, error message. Artifacts directory. Okay. If I have given a wrong name or something, maybe. Artifact directory. And I give artifacts. Okay, I'm getting the issue. If I come back here, it's artifact, not artifacts. There's a small s issue. Okay, fine. Hopefully, it won't any error won't come up after this. Okay, so I guess okay, we got another error now. Okay, slowly coming, but nearby we are getting errors. So script, the file name right now volume syntax is incorrect. Okay, it's incorrect. Syntax itself is saying it's incorrect. Sure. Why it is incorrect? The now process was wrong, is it? Stamp. Okay, let's see. Volume syntax itself is incorrect. Artifacts data creating something. Okay. After data initial, I'm not going to create this one. There's some issue with this date timestamp. Okay, let me check now. I think the format that I kept that's wrong somehow. That can be a reason. Okay. If I come back to my configuration.py. Okay. Let's scroll up and okay, current timestamp, and we're getting current timestamp from here and get the format. Okay, it's okay. Acha, I'm getting the issue now. I think there could be some issues, so let's do it like change this to dash. There may be some issue with this colon. Something could be. So um config. Okay, I think now it should be fine. Let's run this code. Let's see. Okay, yeah, okay. Data URL, okay, stuck actually. It's about to download. No attribute. data URL. Line number 24. Line number 24. Line number 24. Okay. Oh, okay. It's a auto suggestion problem. So let's like change this to this. Okay. Okay. It's fine. Let's rerun the code. Okay. Yeah. I think it's downloaded now. If I come back to my folder now, YT projects classifier. If I come back here, it says source, not source. If I come here, genre, artifacts, see the data ingestion folder has been created. Okay, now based on timestamp, see, first time I ran, I got error, then I ran, I got this, right? So now inside that is a raw data folder. Inside that we have the CSV file. So this is how that complete process will happen. So yeah, guys, I guess it's quite a long video, and yeah, I solved the error in front of you. So this is how you need to always implement. And I will post this code in my Git repo so that you can access it. Hope you like this video, guys. Don't forget to share with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you for watching. Bye.